Hey, so today I wanted to do a video about my experiences with AvPD's effect on my memory. Some scientific studies have shown that anxiety and depression can affect memory formation, but I wanted to talk more specifically and anecdotally about the specific sort of anxiety I deal with because of AvPD and the specific way I handle shame and dwelling on stuff and how I think those things affect my memory, and maybe this applies to some of you guys as well. So, in the short term, obviously, I do have some recall difficulty. Just trying to think of something on the spot while I'm anxious can be difficult. I think most people that have ever experienced any form of stress or anxiety have dealt with that. But more specifically to AVPD, I also forget things that people say to me. I'll understand what you're saying, no problem, interpret it just fine, and respond as usual and all that, and I'll just forget it quickly. Um, I might not pay attention to the things that I've done. So this is different from not paying attention to the things that I'm doing, because I do have focus issues too. But what I'm talking about here is once I've done it, forgetting about it almost immediately. So something I deal with as far as this all the time is like I'll lock a door to my house and then immediately forget that I did it, and I have to go check again and again and do that like 3 times or so usually. Um, and this can feed into the paranoia that some people with AVPD deal with. And I also tend to discard any information about my surroundings that's not immediately relevant to my anxiety. So um, this happens with a whole lot of things, but one thing that happens all the time is that if I go outside and then come back inside, it doesn't matter how long I was out there, unless the temperature is really extreme or the weather is insane, I won't remember what it was like outside at all. Somebody goes, "How is it outside? What's the temperature like?" I have no idea. Obviously, I'm noticing it while I'm out there, and I could tell you if you asked me while I was outside, but I just immediately forget it when I go inside because it's not really relevant to my anxiety. I'm paying more attention to, I'm looking around to see if anyone's watching me and trying to make sure that I don't do something stupid inside of anyone, or if someone is there, make sure I don't say something stupid, blah, blah, blah. Um, so the thing about this is that it's both caused by my anxious fixations that I deal with because of AVPD, and it also fuels them more. So since I'm constantly, looking for people or looking for signs that they're seeing me as having done something stupid, or hyper concentrating on making sure I don't do something that makes me look stupid, um, I'm not noticing anything else basically. Like I can register it in the moment, but I don't have enough bandwidth to remember it because it immediately goes out of my brain because I'm constantly thinking about 10,000 other things. And it's really funny because I'm really good at remembering all of these fixations. It's not like I have a checklist that I go down or anything, but I constantly think of, 10 billion different things that I need to make sure I don't do, or that I'm looking out to see if other people are doing, to see how they're reacting to me and all that stuff. And yet I can't seem to remember anything else because I'm so fixated on that list of stuff, basically. Um, and if I do want to remember anything, I basically have to take notes. I take notes all the time on my phone whenever I need to remember something. And of course, for these videos, I most of the time have to write a script because, you know, I I'll completely forget what I'm trying to say, even though I know exactly what I want to say. And I can write the script really quickly. It's not like it takes a long time to come up with it, but once it's there, it will just fade while I'm trying to speak because I'm anxious, basically. And it's really annoying, especially because this can make people think, or can make us think that people think that we don't care about them, because, if I forget something someone says very quickly, they're thinking that I don't care about what they're saying, and I'm just choosing not to pay attention, when in reality, my mind is just focused on 10,000 other things that I'm worried about. And so that's sort of the way it can fuel these fixations. We're so anxious about what other people think about the fact that we forgot all of these little details, that we fixate on this stuff even more and do an even worse job of remembering stuff. Or at least that's how it goes for me. Then there's also long-term memory problems from this. So one thing I've noticed is I have mostly forgotten entire events in my life that seemed significant at the time. So these are things that I can't passively think back to at all. It'll just never come into my mind when I'm thinking about this time period or whatever. It won't happen. If someone reminds me that these things happen, I'll be like, yeah, I do remember that. Wow, that's weird. But then I still can't actively recall any more details about it unless someone else keeps telling me, and then I can remember them, but they just really don't come to mind at all. So one example of this is recently while I was writing my book draft, I was talking to my friend about something, and we ended up talking about the fact that we were in some honor band in middle school, and we went on field trips and played concerts across the state. And I do remember that this happened, but I did not think about it at all, and I still remember pretty much nothing from it, which is very strange and not good. And at the same time, I can flawlessly remember encounters that lasted just a few seconds because they caused me great shame, and so I think about them constantly. There's a ton of these, obviously, but one that I think about way too much is one thing that happened in high school where I did something stupid, just silly, and it got noticed, and a couple people laughed at me. It wasn't anything big, really, of course. It was just the sort of thing that someone that was less anxious than me could have just shrugged it off and not been embarrassed by, but of course, since it was me, it seemed like a big deal. But when I say I can remember this, I mean I remember exactly what I said that was stupid, how I moved and acted otherwise, what caused me to do it, everyone that was around, and how everyone reacted. And this literally probably lasted about 15 seconds. And then everyone changed the subject, and the only one still thinking about it was me. Which is just great, because basically our expectation that we're always going to be humiliated means that when we do humiliate ourselves somehow, we remember exactly what happened so that we can avoid getting ourselves in a similar situation in the future so we don't do it again. Because, when we do it, it's not just bad in the moment, we think about it forever. Like this literally happened a decade ago, and I still think about it constantly, and it doesn't matter at all. It was not a big deal, but it was to me, and it will be forever, basically. And when we don't humiliate ourselves, we were so fixated on the possibility that we were going to that we barely noticed any of the other possibilities and, of course, what actually ended up happening. Or is this is how it seems to me. I say we, of course. I don't know for sure, but you guys can tell me if you experience some similar memory issues or if this is just me. But I think it's probably a thing that we share because of our focus is just what we're dwelling on. So the thing is, I don't necessarily treat situations that go all right as being situations that I should repeat. I just do the opposite, because there's no guarantee that it's going to go as well next time, and because of my negative self-image, basically, I assume I'm going to make an ass out of myself, and it will probably go worse next time than it did this time. So basically, it'll always go worse than I expect. Which means that if I get in a bad situation, I definitely don't want to repeat it. If I get in a decent situation, I still don't really want to repeat it. And if it goes really well, it might make a difference and it might not. So what's funny about it is I've actually got a pretty good memory overall, just doing random, those random tests and stuff. I have a pretty good short-term and long-term memory. But it's not really useful when it comes to anything, remembering anything useful in the short term or anything nice in the long term. I basically just remember all the bad stuff because I only ever pay attention to the bad stuff. So that's all I can really remember, which is not fun. But yeah, that's my experience with memory and AvPD, which of course has some relation to how anxiety can cause memory issues and depression can cause memory issues. But like I said, I think it also has something more specific to do with, the specific fixations we have in fear of judgment and criticism and the specific fact of dwelling on shame forever, basically. But yeah, anyway, just curious if you guys had dealt with the same sort of stuff or if you guys saw it differently. But anyway, that's about it for now. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.